What if I told you this turboprop could save you nearly $4 million and still compete with private jets costing almost twice as much? Not just on purchase price, on cabin space, range, fuel efficiency, airport access, and for many real-world trips, even total travel time. This is the Beechcraft Denali. And once you compare the actual numbers, a $10 million light jet starts looking a lot harder to justify. For decades, private aviation has followed a simple hierarchy. Piston aircraft at the bottom, turboprops in the middle, jets at the top. And if you had enough money, you bought the jet. Because jets meant speed, prestige, altitude, and serious performance, while turboprops were seen as the compromise. Slower, louder, less glamorous. But the Denali challenges that entire assumption. Because this isn't simply a cheaper alternative to a jet. For the missions many private owners actually fly, it may be the smarter aircraft. The biggest reason starts with the engine. Most turboprops in this category rely on versions of engine designs that have been evolving for decades. The Denali takes a different path. It uses the GE Catalyst, a new generation turboprop engine producing roughly 1,300 shaft horsepower. But the real story isn't just power, it's how the aircraft manages that power. The Catalyst uses advanced digital engine control and single-lever power management. In a traditional turboprop, the pilot may need to manage power, propeller settings, and engine behavior through multiple controls. In the Denali, much of that complexity is reduced. Push the lever forward, and the aircraft handles far more of the workload. That sounds like a small detail. It isn't. It changes the entire cockpit experience and makes the Denali feel much closer to the simplified operation buyers expect from a modern business aircraft. Then there's the flight deck. The Denali uses the Garmin G3000 avionics suite. Large displays, touchscreen controllers, integrated navigation, weather information, traffic awareness, synthetic vision. This is not the cockpit of a cheap utility prop plane. It's a modern business aircraft environment built around reducing pilot workload. And that matters because one of the traditional arguments for buying a jet has always been the experience. The technology, the sophistication, the feeling that you've stepped into a different class of aircraft. The Denali closes that gap dramatically. Now we get to the comparison that makes this aircraft so interesting. A Denali sits in roughly the $5 to $6 million class. Now compare that with aircraft like the Phenom 300E or Citation CJ4, where pricing can move toward the $10 million range depending on configuration and market conditions. That's a difference of several $million before the aircraft even flies its first trip. Now, yes, the jets are faster. That needs to be clear. A Phenom 300E or CJ4 can cruise well above 400 knots. The Denali is closer to the high 200s. On a long enough flight, that speed difference absolutely matters. But here's the question serious buyers should ask. How much time does that speed actually save on the missions you fly? Because on a regional trip, the answer may be far less dramatic than the brochure numbers suggest. And the Denali brings something the jets can't ignore. Efficiency. A single turboprop engine can consume dramatically less fuel than two jet engines. Over hundreds of flight hours, that difference becomes enormous. Not just thousands of dollars, potentially hundreds of thousands over the ownership cycle. And then there's airport access. This may be the Denali's most underrated advantage. Private aviation isn't only about how fast you fly, it's about how close you can get to your actual destination. A turboprop can operate from shorter runways and access airports that may be impractical for many jets. So imagine two aircraft flying to the same region. The jet arrives faster, but lands at a larger airport farther away. The Denali flies slower, but lands much closer to the final destination. Suddenly, the faster aircraft may not produce a dramatically faster door-to-door journey. And in some mission profiles, the turboprop can be the more practical machine. Now, none of this means the Denali makes jets obsolete. It doesn't. If you regularly fly long distances, the jet wins. If you need maximum cruise speed, the jet wins. If you want to climb above more weather and operate in the high-altitude environment of modern business jets, the jet wins. And yes, status still matters. For some owners and corporate clients, arriving in a jet carries a perception that a turboprop simply doesn't. That may have nothing to do with engineering. But in private aviation, perception can influence purchasing decisions. So, does a $4 to $6 million turboprop truly beat a $10 million jet? Not on every mission. But that's exactly the point. Most private owners are not flying coast to coast every week. They're flying regional and mid-range routes. They're carrying families, executives, equipment, and luggage. They care about operating cost. They care about airport access. They care about cabin utility. And they care about whether spending several $1,000,000 more actually changes the mission. For many of those buyers, the answer may be no. The Denali isn't impressive because it's a cheaper jet. It's impressive because it forces you to ask whether you needed the jet in the first place. And this is exactly what my Category Disruptor series is about. Aircraft that completely break the rules of what their category is supposed to do. Next, watch the story of the Otto Solera 500L, a piston aircraft designed to deliver jet-like performance with radically different efficiency. Click the video on screen. And if you want more aircraft comparisons based on real numbers instead of brochure marketing, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.